Welcome, welcome, one and all, to another edition of SoulSym Showcase. As usual, I am your host, SoulSym Mirak, and this evening we are back again with the Adamantle Adventurers Academy uh, courses. We are uh, we were going through the skills that are present within the Core 4 system after having gone over uh, the uh, the core attributes, the primary attributes, um, your combat modifiers, spell shaping, maneuver shaping, and now currently going through the back end, the final 10 skills in our 28 skill subsystem. And as we have covered in previous streams, the skill system uh, comes with levels of mastery as well as actions that are afforded at each of those levels. Excuse me. And I'm not sure if we've discussed this previously, but there is uh, a progression or advancement um, mechanic behind the skills. Uh, the mastery rank that I mentioned previously and keep mentioning when I say the competency, the competent mastery actions that I've been discussing previously with the skills to this point. Um, you are able to advance the effectiveness of your skills in two ways. One with uh, a sheer number of investment of ranks invested in mastering that skill, which improves the raw number, the base number that you would add to a roll with your with that skill. And the second way is through uh, mastery training, and mastery training can only be accessed once you have invested a certain number of ranks in a given skill to qualify for said training session. And then you also need to take the downtime or the take the downtime in order to undergo the exams or the trials that are related to advancing to the next rank of mastery. Um, and when we start going over the skills in future uh, videos, lives, and shorts, um, we'll be mentioning what work skills, what skills come with each profession, and what skills would be considered life skills, which are uh, skills that do not pertain specifically to the class that, or rather the profession that you chose to embark on. And that just means that there's less active time spent using those particular skills on a day to day. And so they're considered more hobby skills because they're not related to your specific job or your specific field of study or work. That does not mean that you cannot be of sufficient skill or of significant skill within a life skill or significant training or mastery within a life skill. It just takes more effort to acquire that level of skill, um, because it's not something that you actively use every day as part of your uh, professional kit. So there are things that you have to find time to do rather than having them um, placed in front of you as objectives on a regular basis. Um, and that is a quick rundown of how the cadence of the lessons have gone so far applies to the system going forward and in other scenarios outside of this setting, um, or going forward into the full system itself. Uh, and if I'm not mistaken, the last skill that we covered was perception, um, which is, excuse me, um, which is your ability to observe and control your senses to uncover, reveal, or protect yourself from different stimuli. Um, which means that our next skill to be discussed is the perform skill. And the perform skill is a presence based skill, which, as we've discussed previously, is your force of personality, uh, in the most clearest or plainest, simplest of terms. Um, and as a uh, um, as a skill field in general, um, performance is how you captivate audiences, how effectively you're able to hold people's attention when you are uh, in your element, so to speak. Um, perform can be uh, quantified or displayed in a number of different ways, be it through dance or oration, music, um, acting, all of these things that uh, the different activities that are affected by one's charisma or one's ability to make others feel or connect with something outside of themselves is what the perform skill modifies or represents. Um, and this is made present or made apparent by the competent mastery actions that are afforded to individuals who study the performing arts. You have captivating flourish, which allows for the player to uh, perform a quick trick, uh, play a bedum tish, a, a musical riff, or strike a pose and draw the attention of non hostile NPCs, granting them a uh, granting allies a mechanical advantage on their next stealth or investigation check while the crowd is staring at them. Basically, it allows you to, like, hey, look at me, and actually draw the attention of enough people that your allies that you're traveling with are able to move relatively unaffected or unaccosted. And the second action that you gain from competent mastery is the theatrical taunt. My apologies. Um, you may use stage acting or a mocking song to infuriate uh, a target and give them disadvantage on attacks to hit anyone other than you until you either cease the song or uh, yeah, or the yeah, I'm sorry, until you cease the song. So you may with theatrical taunt, if you insist, like if you consistently spend that 1 AP, can impose disadvantage on enemies that are trying to hit you um, for as long as you keep your song going. And these two actions could be used in unison or in tandem, drawing a crowd to uh, the very public roasting of an enemy while nimbly evading their attacks and attempts to silence you. A purely, um, well, a partially combative, partially civil, uh, technically non combat scenario conducted entirely off of skill actions. And while the individual or the target of your theatrical taunt may actually be trying to harm you, you could potentially just use skill actions or just to embarrass them in that moment, as if you are attempting to spare them the embarrassment of your actual attention. Um, just a scenario that comes to mind on how you could use those specific actions within the context of perform to do some things that don't exactly scream performance. Um, just the creativity that is possible within the confines or within the context of Core 4. Um, Next, moving on, rather, I should say, from performance or from perform, we are stepping into the piety skill. And piety is a presence based skill uh, that measures the devotion, spirituality, or uh, study of spiritual and divine entities, um, going through ritualistic practices, uh, daily prayer, um, pious active acts of kindness or generosity, um, and your ability to interact with faithful individuals governed by your piety skill. Um, Through piety, you are also able to make active prayer requests uh, or rather, request miracles, uh, sometimes channel divine power, and even eventually perform small miracles of your own through uh, through investment in the piety skill. And a glimpse into what piety is able to allow a player to achieve. We have the spiritual mark or blessing, competent action, minor action, uh, which allows for you to trace a sigil, or speak a word of power over yourself or allies, and gain a uh, gain advantage on the next saving throw, or against a magical effect, or a bonus on or advantage on your next skill check. Um, and then the second skill is Invoke Right, which allows you to channel your devotion to ward off extraplanar or unholy interference. Um, and um, you can either uh, force the individual to flee, take a penalty, or take a penalty in addition to being able to deal a little bit of damage. Um, so through these minor skills with piety, you can protect your allies and also turn away entities that don't align with you in particular. Um, that can have you turning away or damaging entities that are opposed to your alignment, or possibly even uh, commanding servitude from entities that uh, resonate with your alignment. Piety allows you to do both of those things. The next skill that we have on the list is repair. And repair is an aptitude skill which governs your ability to restore and maintain mechanical, arcano-mechanical, digital, and artificial constructs. Um, this is a sibling skill to craft, where craft allows you to create things, repair allows you to maintain them and prevent them from breaking, or repair them, or bring them back to a functional state after they've been broken. Um, these the repair skill also allows you to diagnose issues before they become catastrophic, and take the necessary course of action or the necessary actions to um, prevent those uh, pressure points from building to a burst. Pardon me. So, um, within the repair skill at competent mastery, the minor actions that you have access to, first is structural scan, which allows you to look at a construct, a vehicle, or a piece of equipment and immediately learn its hit points, any debuffs affecting it, and any vulnerabilities currently afflicting the object. So you're able to diagnose exactly what's wrong with something with a simple look. Just a couple seconds. You're able to diagnose most technology or mechanical devices you come across. And the second action that you gain is Quick Patch, which allows you to restore a small amount of HP to to a mechanical target or uh, remove a penalty from that object for the duration of a scene, or if um, rolled effectively enough, rolled well enough, permanently restore and I'm sorry, remove a penalty from that device, a malfunction or a glitch that's been acquired over exposure and use with time. Um, so repair could be or would likely be most effective in campaigns or sessions where the party is on a ship or inside of a vehicle of some sort that has sustained damage or is trying to avoid um, failure, and repair would be vital in keeping that scenario intact and moving forward until a solution could be found if it is not, in fact, the solution itself. Um, but yes, that is repair. And so we're moving into the final seven, the back quarter of our skills system with the introduction of resilience. Resilience is a endurance based skill that relates to your physical fortitude and sturdiness. It is your ability to uh, resist poisons, um, parasites, and extreme environmental conditions. And as you improve resilience, you're able to resist elemental types of damage. So it goes beyond just um, the debuffs environments may impose, and you're actually able to resist the damage that they would also inflict using like just off of your physical conditioning. And the skill actions afforded at competent mastery, which again is uh, the base level training that one would acquire at first level when they're selecting the skills that a profession offers them. Um, uh, but yes, the first action is adrenaline surge, which allows you to gain a pool of temporary hit points equal to your resilience check, or flat damage reduction to the next instance of poison or environmental damage you would take that round. Um, so there's multiple benefits that you could gain from the adrenaline surge. Uh, Most notably, if you're uh, low on health and you want to stay in the fight, adrenaline surge can help you get a solid chunk of hit points back. Um, Granted, they are temporary and they will not prevent you from dying, so to speak, or having to uh, go unconscious, but they can stave it off a little bit longer um, in a clutch scenario. Um, Alternatively, if you're not low on health, but you also don't want to take damage from the heat of being in the mouth of a volcano or in a subterranean mine that happens to be extremely hot, uh, you could use the adrenaline surge to shirk off And so, um, after adrenaline surge, you have the skill action of ignore pain. Ignore pain allows you to ignore movement penalties or mechanical debuffs associated with with injuries that you gain uh, for until the start of your next turn. So you're able to, uh, if you consistently, let's say you sustain an injury, um, a wound from taking a lot of fire damage because uh, a vein of lava happened to uh, scar your arm, peeling some flesh off. Um, and rather than enduring that penalty to your attack rolls going forward in the fight that you inevitably run into, you can choose to effectively uh, dedicate one of the AP that you have every turn to ignoring the fact that you have bone exposed on your arm and still swing as though you were at something close to full health, even though you have a very obvious and debilitating injury that can be seen. Um, just an idea of what could be done with ignore pain, which is a skill action, by the way. It's not related to any class. It only requires competency in resilience to have this action that you can lean on to keep your effectiveness in combat up, or your uh, keep your story going a bit further until you can get to a situation where you can alleviate this penalty you've received. um, our next skill is runecraft, and runecraft is a wonderful intelligence based skill that governs your mastery of arcane syntax, sigils, and symbolic magic. Um, this is one of the more uh, foundational or fundamental skills when it comes to magic items, making magic items, and improving magic items. Runecraft is um, the study of anchoring magic or energies from other realms, other entities, and other uh, planes into um, items that have been primed to contain that level of energy. Um, and all of the different ways that that can be applied. Rune crafting can be for making magic items. It can also be for setting magical traps. Um, Carving a rune into a wall that has a proximity trigger is similar to etching several symbols into the hilt and handguard of a sword in order to allow it to burst into flames and sear enemies with its slashing attacks, in addition to the normal the normal damage that it would do as a sword itself. Um, and Runecraft's minor actions that it affords you are the um, Runic Decipher, which instantly, which allows you to translate unknown languages, um, or identify ex- trigger conditions of sigils and traps and things of that nature. Um, and the next action is the trace mark, which allows you to quickly apply a rune or sigil to a surface uh, that allows it to either um, uh, do a couple of uh, a number of various provide a number of utility uh, benefits. The first being some of those being uh, a tracking beacon, um, like an invisible alarm, or a, uh, a glow that can be emitted that can be imbued into a weapon as a detection system. These are things that a trace mark can confer onto a given surface or an object. Um, so give me just one moment, please, before we move on to the next skill. Okay. Um, our next skill, sorry about that, is speech. And speech is a presence-based skill, as you could possibly probably guess. It governs your ability to speak languages and navigate conversations. Um, it allows you to, or it helps you uh, develop laws, issue orders, and uh, weave lies. And speech is another skill that uh, has a more visible benefit gained from its invested ranks over um, the actions that are awarded with competency, though it does not slack or slouch in the action economy offerings department at all. Uh, speech increase each rank that you invest into your speech skill. Um, it grants you a new language that you are fluent in, meaning you are able to learn another. You can learn to speak a language that you didn't know before by uh, investing a rank in speech at your next level up in order to say bridge that gap or um, even going through the process of uh, say a downtime um, side quest to earn that rank before a level up in order to gain a new language. Um, that is something that you can do simply by investing a singular rank, be it from a level up or through the expenditure of legend points. Um, boom, 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 boom. The competent actions offered by speech are tactical command, which allows you to grant an ally a uh, either advantage or a flat bonus on their next roll, or to immediately use a reaction to reposition. Um, this is similar to uh, an aid action where you're able to provide um, tactical information that yields your yields a party member a unforeseen, or rather a previously unknown advantage, be it repositioning or just um, a bonus to hit, making it easier time to land that hit. Um, and then next would be the linguistic pivot or the silver lie, uh, which allows you to instantly change your dialect or uh, devise a lie or a fabrication that uh, um, allows you to pass a coded message or to an ally using as a secret phrase or cipher that um, was made up on the spot or established previously, but still is utilizing information um, unique to the bond between you and that person, and that uh, utterance can often cause a sort of stun effect to non-allied creatures that hear this oration. Um, so you're able to say, do the parrot call that draws the guard's attention so that your homeboy can slip by undetected or start that chase that otherwise would have ended in them being detained. Uh, that is what the linguistic pivot represents, narratively speaking. Um, After speech, we have stealth. Stealth is the sneaky man skill or the sneaky person skill, derived from speed and responsible for going unnoticed and hiding in plain sight, uh, doing sneaky things and not getting caught. That is the stealth way. That is the stealth skill. That is what stealth governs. And again, uh, a lot of these skills can be used in tandem with other skills in order to boost your odds of success in a given scenario. Um, the actions afforded by stealth are vanish slash reposition, um, which allows you to move up to half your speed, and hide while um, having minimal cover, dim light, or a momentary distraction uh, to break line of sight. So that that linguistic pivot, the silver lie, could be the distraction that you need in order for an ally to, or rather, in order for you to use vanish or reposition to disappear from sight. The Batman misdirection, how he just is gone as soon as you turn your head for half a moment. That is what this skill action represents. And then the second action is sleight of hand or misdirect, which allows you to pick a pocket, palm an item, or you know cause cause some other kind of disruption that draws people's attention away from you or in a different direction, uh, so that you can uh, provide an opening for an ally or even for yourself. You could use a misdirect to trigger vanish. It you have the action economy to do so. So that if you have the action points available to do so, that is something that you could do just within basic mastery or competency of the stealth skill. Um, after stealth, we move into survival. Survival is the is an aptitude skill that is responsible for you surviving and thriving in hostile environments and regions. Uh, Camping, uh, traveling through the wilderness, uh, wandering through a desert, swimming across an ocean. These are all uh, situations where survival would be beneficial, not only beneficial, but uh, pivotal in determining your success or survivability. Um, the uh, actions afforded with competency in survival are read signs, assessing hazards, which allows you to determine the age, weight, and direction of a physical track within line of sight, like a bear track or a formation of hostile troops. You can also identify the safest path through a localized environment um, that you have spent a sufficient amount of time in acclimating to. Um, this could potentially even apply to a minefield that separates two uh, enemy camps. Being able to assess that hazard or navigate uh, the green line through that minefield would be a accurate or a use of assess hazard that I would allow. Um, the second action would be quick forage slash salvage, which is which allows you to find edible food uh, for you and your party, or finding uh, serviceable or um, usable pieces of scrap that could uh, be used to jerry rig or makeshift other tools for the purpose of surviving for a bit longer in a given environment. So, those are two basic actions that are available through the survival skill that can help in a number of different ways in role play scenarios and even in uh, combat scenarios potentially. Um, and we will then move to our second to last skill, which is technology, an intelligence based skill responsible for your understanding and ability to interact with mechanical systems from the water wheel all the way up to advanced intelligences, machine intelligences, artificial intelligences, and even artificial life in some settings. Um, Making smart weapons, creating ammunition, uh, making new weapons, new equipment, new technology, all of, or rather new vehicles, all of that falls into technology. Technology works really well with craft and runecraft as well as repair to uh, introduce some interesting synergies as far as skill combinations are concerned. But the actions offered at competence mastery for technology is the quick override or cipher sync, which allows you to interface with terminals, electronics, and other uh, low level machines to say open doors, crack safes, access files, or uh, scramble communications between you and your allies. And then you have sensor scramble, which allows you to translate, allows you to target a hostile machine and uh, disable it temporarily with a chunk of data or raw code that uh, allows you to disrupt their either their attack patterns or their de- detection slash investigation parameters, allowing you to slip by undetected or even just outright shut down um, like security cameras or uh, relay terminals or even cell towers. That is a those are useful or applicable uses of the sensor scramble skill within technology. And then from there, we'll move on to our last skill within the core 4 skill system, um, which is Umbra. And Umbra is a power skill. Uh, it determines your understanding, familiarity, and a degree of control over darkness, shadows, and gravity. Uh, it is the field of antimatter, spatial folding, and metaphysical shadow. Um, there are a lot of different things that you can do with Umbra, like making shadow creatures, creating illusions, and even uh, in the technological space, developing shadow drives um, and antimatter engines that are arguably more efficient than light-based drives, but come with their own set of issues, as light speed also has. Um, but the we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. Uh, Competent mastery within shadows or within Umbra allows you to utilize the shadow meld action, which uh, affords you the ability to extinguish light within 30 feet of you, non magical light sources within 30 feet of you, uh, or uh, ensnare or capture a hostile or a target within their own shadow or within localized darkness. The more darkness present, the easier shadow meld becomes to use, or is the more shadow meld is capable of doing. Um, and then the other action is micro warp, which allows you to do a short teleport, the shadow jaunt, Nightcrawler Bamf. You are able to connect uh, two locations in space by folding their shadows together and moving small things uh, across that across that gap. So um, it's not a full Nightcrawler BAMF just yet at competency, but it will allow you to move books, phones, and other small devices, say up to 15 to 20 pounds, um, on a standard um, on a standard result to move them across rooms or advanced distances. And as you improve mastery in all of your skills, in each of these skills, you will unlock uh, job and field skills or out of combat macro time skills that or macro time actions that you can take uh, at the adept level of mastery, which is the next level above competent, um, which allow you to do things like earn a living, make money off of the given skill, uh, and then on the like further on the civil side, and then in the field side of things, you can set up different bonuses and benefits ahead of time, or set up traps and pitfalls, or maintain uh, a traveling party, um, the vehicle that you're using. These are all things that fall into the job slash field actions afforded at the adept mastery level. And following adept mastery is expert mastery, which is where you gain major action skills, rather major skill actions, which are actions that are comparable to your standard attack actions that you would normally have from uh, from D&D or another tabletop system if you're playing something else. The major action that usually is responsible for you dealing damage, whether that be with a spell or a weapon, those are major actions within Core 4, and the skill actions are no exception to that concept. And beyond expert mastery, at the very top of each skill are the savant actions, which are very powerful, very quick actions that you can take with either a reaction or a free action, and uh, you're limited in how many of those actions you can take based off of how much speed your character has, um, and it is 1/10 of your speed score, not your speed modifier, the score itself. So if you have uh, a 45 in your speed, then you have four rapid or reactions that you can take in a singular turn before your next turn comes. And those rapid and reaction abilities refresh each time you get the opportunity to act again, which in uh, the dynamic action track or the fluid combat system, the initiative system that we have in Core 4, can be uh, more frequent than you've experienced previously, given that each of these actions have an AP cost. And that AP cost moves you down the track based off of how much you have and how much you spent on your turn. Um, Saying that to say, or rather, as an example, the formula for determining the attribute points that you have uh, is 6 plus your uh, speed modifier divided by 4. So every 4 points in your speed modifier gives you another action point that you can use per turn. Um, and the easiest way to keep track of this from the way that I've put it together, and I guess the way that I would advise ones to keep track of how many action points you have. Uh, you have a number of action points. You have six plus one for every time your dice pool goes up a full set. So if you have 4d6 as your dice pool, then you have 7 action points. If there's a d6 anywhere in your dice pool that you're rolling for speed, you have 7 action points. When you hit 4d8, you now have 8 action points. When you hit 4d10, you now have 9. When you hit 4d12, you now have 10. And uh, major actions take anywhere from 2 to 4 AP. Minor actions take 1 to 2. Uh, movement actions are 1 per increment of range. So if you have 50 feet of movement, every 50 feet of movement that you move is 1 AP from your total. And as I stated, rapid and reaction, rapid actions and reactions are have a 0 AP cost, but a limit based off of how fast you are. Um, so, with that brief rundown, and I will go over uh, the action point system more extensively if or rather in future videos, and I can even do it here if that is a request of the audience or the community. Um, but in keeping with how we have done other episodes, um, I will be taking a brief 5-minute break. And in that time, if anyone has any questions, you can drop them in the chat or any suggestions or anything that they would like to see developed um, in the chat. And I will return in a few minutes and we'll make a couple of uh, new uh, spells or techniques for our test frames featured on the side. So Anchor, Wall, Architect, Cipher, Striker, Apex, Catalyst, and Tidecaller are on the table for uh, new abilities, though I believe Anchor got one, Architect has gotten one, Apex has had some developed. So that really leaves Catalyst, Tidecaller, Cipher, Striker, and Wall. But yes, so if you have any ideas for um, a technique or a spell you'd like to see created, go ahead and drop it in the chat for me, and I'll uh, tackle that as soon as I get back from break. Okay, so give me just 5 minutes, and we'll go ahead and get into spell shaping uh, some new techniques in for everyone to have access to in the full system. Um, and yeah, so just give me a minute. I'll be right back. Okay. All right. So we are back. Sorry for the delay. Had to run to the bathroom. But um, we are going to build some new skills, new abilities, as we have just covered all of um, our skills. Um, we are going to create a new set, rather a new action or a new ability for one of our um, test frames. And to do that, we are going to again hop to page 29 in the Core 4 Evolution Quick Start Guide tab, Spell and Maneuver Shaping, which all that stuff. Yeah, Spell and Maneuver Shaping. That's what we like to see. Um, we need to determine which of our frames is going to get the new ability, and for that we will go to our roller and see exactly who it's going to be. Um, Now I need to look over people, see if right. Striker got shifting strike. um, Crown developed a couple of abilities for Apex. Don't believe anyone's touched Catalyst. I think that actually is a good idea because Catalyst has the Prodigy, which would give a glimpse into the advantage that prodigies have when it comes to spell shaping, um, and give a brief uh, little lesson on spell seeds and how potent those are for this process. Um, so what we will do is we'll pop over to Catalyst for just a moment so we can discuss what exactly a um, a prodigy is a little bit, and um, how their profession allows them to do things that most other classes can't. Um, Excuse me. Um, so the prodigy class is uh, our big spellcaster. We have several spellcasters in the Core 4 system, but the prodigy is the one that does it a bit better than most. And the reason for that is because they inherently understand magic as if it were a spoken language. Um, their uh, their core mechanic is the shaper it and their spell seeds. The shape rate is what allows for prodigies to have a level of control over spell seeds that is not possible for other professions. They're able to uh, resonate with spell seeds and uh, empower them or irrigate them to uh, increase their potency, increase their strength, and how much energy they afford the spell shaping process. Um, and so we have Catalyst here, who is a Luminon prodigy, um, and she has, or rather, Catalyst has access to coronal points as well as the mana that her prodigy would um, have acquired. And so, got 12 reserve points, 80 spell points, 80 base spell points from the class. And then with her, um, with their with their presence modifier, they have bonus spell points equal to, sorry, bonus mana points. Was a 31. We got an extra 28. So 108 mana. I'm just going to go ahead and pop in here real quick. We'll hit it here. Mana points. MP equals 108. And then reserve points. P equals 12. Yeah, that's that for him. That's what we needed to have listed there. But yes, so now that that information is on the sheet where it should be, um, we can start calculating budget. Yes. Um, so we have, well, normally robosomatic material. Oh, sorry. We have spell seeds for catalyst. So, um, at this level, the prodigy only has access to 10 spell seeds. Uh, so they have the source seed of Stellara, which adds the benefit of increased cascade range while under an open sky and uh, and gaining our enhancement rank in additional feet of push or pull effects, as well as uh, being able to track targets and tag them with the star mark. So that is something that any spell using the Stellaris source is capable of applying. These are riders or effects that are true that hold true for any spell or technique using or riding on the Stellaris seed. Excuse me for one moment. So since we have the Stellaris seed, we'll call this a step through here and say, well, before we just do a random thing, um, let's hop in here and throw a little bit of random, or rather do a, yeah, let's let the dice tell us how much time Catalyst has had to improve these seeds. And so we'll put it on, they've got 10 seeds. Um, we've been doing Adamantle Adventurers Academy for almost 2 weeks now. Or rather, it's been 2 weeks since we ran the first session. So we'll call it 12 days. Let's see. R space 1d12. And go. Okay. Let's try that with advantage. Just to see if Catalyst only wants one enhancement. Or if they only want Catalyst to have one enhancement. 3. Okay. We'll take 3. Um, with those 3, it makes sense to improve our source seed. So this is uh, rank 2, which means our crit range increases by 2 under an open sky, and gravity effects have an extra 10 feet of push or pull. And then we add plus 2 to hit. I'm sorry, we add plus 4 to hit. Yeah, so we add plus 4 to hit because rank 2 is in terms of hit and dodge bonuses, ranks are an exponential growth as opposed to a additive growth. So rank 1 is a +1 bonus, and rank 2 is a +4, rank 3 is a +16, rank 4 is a +64. And that represents a spell seed effectively hitting uh, the mythic or god tier of existence. It is effectively an artifact seed at that point. But since this is a rank 2 seed, it is just a +4 bonus here. Um, dun, dun, dun. And then we'll go with burn is a style. Yeah, burn, burst, and flash are style seeds. Um, so I think that's one turn by default. Okay, so right, so scorch, burn, 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 burn. We'll take rank 2 fire for the damage output. So this is +2 steps. So a D6 becomes a D8. No, sorry, a D6 becomes a D10. A D8 would become a D12. And then D12 just adds extra dice. And this is 20 square feet. Yeah. Just write that as 20. Not 02. 20. Ball, 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 ball. And then our third seed, we will take up. We'll do Flash. Flash at rank 2. Okay. So, sorry for that. Probably should have done that ahead of time. But um, for now, that has solved our uh, ranking issue. And we can do the full math. So again, our catalyst, Mr. Man, has an ego of 4. Um, and then the base of 5. We're going to do second level spells. That's another 4 points. Um, yeah, so that's nine before that's nine plus our proficiency of four, which brings us up to 13. But because we are a prodigy, because Catalyst is a prodigy, the Shaperit feature allows them to triple their proficiency bonus uh, for the purpose of determining their budget. So, because Catalyst has an ego of four and they are a prodigy, they actually gain a bonus, an additional 8 points on top of the uh, four that they would have gotten for a total of 12 off of their ego. And 12 plus 9 is 21. Um, that is their budget before we account for any seeds that they're using. Now, given that Catalyst is a Astralist prodigy and also happens to be a Luanon, they're just really they have a lot of affinity for space and star magic. So to make a spell that does anything that uses anything other than uh, star magic as the source would be less than intelligent. Um, and because Stellara is rank 2, that gives us another 4 points, bringing us from 21 up to 25. So um, let's go ahead and keep track of this here budget, which would be easier to do with an actual pen. Um, it's okay. It's all right. We'll open up a little notepad so that we have this written down. There we go. So, um, we've got a base budget of 21, and then we've got the Stellara 2, which gives us another 4. Um, and we'll probably yeah um, use flash as well for speed and burn and fire. Uh, we'll do Stellara, flash fire, and line. Yeah, actually no. Yeah, do a solar beam, Stellara, fire, line. Yeah, okay. Stellara 2, flash 2, fire to line equals 1. Um, and we could actually even make it burst at the end. So it's a line and it explodes on contact with the first target. First thing it hits generates an explosion. So yeah, we'll also put burst on there. Burst on there equals 1. So it's another 10. So that brings us up to a budget of 35. So our budget is 35 points. We're guaranteed at least a 5-foot explosion. Um, uh, we're going to reduce the action cost by 2 points. Because of flash. We gain 2 extra steps on damage because of fire. And enemies hit by the spell are also marked so that they are easier to hit with future spells. This is a nasty one. We also have the ability to put a zone of fire down in the explosion. That would work. That works. Okay, cool. All right. So we've got a pretty big budget to work with in terms of um, what's available. And so we're going to go ahead and pop over to the um, actual budgeting section uh, and determine how this bad boy is going to go. Um, and so we got to check out this, and then 4. And then we do, what is this? There it is. Oh, that's not it. Where's the thing I'm looking? There it is. Okay, we got that, and then this E minus 1. There we go. So that is the boost. It's integration combo blah 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 blah. Okay. We are here with our um, line seed. We have access to, for free, line gives us 15 feet of length. an additional 15 feet of length. And it can bend one time. Okay. Okay. Um, so we are going to go with a base range of 90 feet, which puts us at 135. Um, mhm. So we've got range is 135 feet. Can bend once. And then boom, 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 boom. It is, we're actually going to use the bomb seed instead of the burst seed, um, as um, burst is not so much the area. Um, sorry, I'm sorry. Range is 120 feet. I'm sorry, because we have the line for area, and then right, the burst at the end. Okay, so our range is 120 feet. No, range is self. Range is self, so there's no. It's centered on self, but it still has a range. And that range is a line, which 135 feet. Just 4 points, 8 points. Plus the one, or rather, so it's only 5 points. If we wanted to do 130, if we wanted to do 120, but doing 135 would bring us to 6 total. So that's 6 points off of the 35, which leaves us with 29 for line. And then our bomb, and we're going to do a 20-foot burst, which brings us another 6 points. So this minus 6 there, down to 23. 130-foot line, 135-foot line that can bend once. 20-foot bomb. 20-foot radius bomb. Then we have the damage, which if we do brutal fire, that's 5 points that we're spending, taking us down to 18 points. And because of the enhancement that we have from the fire seed, that would give us an extra 2 dice. So we could do 3d12 fire. Damage is 3d12 fire. And our fire seed also leaves a hazard. That burns for 2 rounds. And we'll put that here. That's where we'll also denote the bomb itself. 20-foot zone. Dun, 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 dun. That is a very intense sunspot. Then we could actually add a 10-foot pull effect because we're using the Stellara. Okay, yeah. So yeah, effect is pull. Um, feet toward center. Each turn. That's wild. Boom, 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 boom. I'm sorry, we can only do 15. Okay, so do 15 towards the center. And star mark. Pull 15 feet towards center. Star mark. So plus 4. And boom, 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 boom. We could even throw in some leech there. Because we still have a lot that we can still play around with in terms of budget. So, yeah, I think put a leech on there. For 3 points. And then Each will have damage. Um, uh, instant duration, so nothing spent there. Um, and we've got um, we can reduce this to a minor action for 1 point, which is a bit wild, but I'm gonna take the 1 point off there. Um, and see, for the action, it is a minor. 1 AP, which makes this a very powerful, very quick ability. Being able to use it multiple times in a single turn for the amount of damage that it does with the radius that it does. This Starburst is a very powerful uh, spell. Boom, 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 boom. We can even allow it to be used as a reaction. Which Flash would also reduce that. So that's another 2 points off. So that brings us down to 12 points remaining, which means we've already spent 23 points on this first level spell, or second level spell, technically speaking, and we're still within the confines of a cantrip. Um, so uh, this power has taken a little bit longer to build, but that's prodigies get to be a little uh, wonky or a bit more greedy with their abilities. Um, we could bump the duration of the effect into up to a minute. That would bring us down. That would take 2 points off, um, and we could even put in that burn because we have the spell seed to start it. Um, so then that would mean we could add um, um, we could add a d6 for 3 rounds, 2d6 for 3 rounds. Um, and then boost the duration to a minute for a total of 6 extra points. Or, no, sorry, for an additional 4 points. So that would bring us down to 8. That's -4. Okay. And, okay. And then, so this is a 2d6 fire per turn for 1 minute. Okay. And I think the last thing that we'll do is make the person vulnerable. So that way this counts as a first level spell. This bad boy is hefty already as it is, but we still have 4 points left over, even with all of this. Um, vulnerable to fire. Okay, so let's pop over to Catalyst and up here to active maneuvers. Pull up our little daily bopper here. I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. Before we even do that, we have to roll to make sure that we correctly shape this thing to develop it appropriately. Um, so we are making a development check on making a development check which we pop over in here. Development is here. Sorry, here we go. All right, cool. Now, development is aptitude, catalyst aptitude. So we've got 31 points that were spent plus 10, so our total number is 41. In this particular technique would take an additional. Hold on, just one moment, boys. Um, um, go. I'll be in there in a moment. Every 4 points over 10 is another day. So 21, it's 7 days. So this is a 8-day technique. This will take 8 days uh, to complete. So let's go ahead and do our first skill check within the development for Catalyst, whose aptitude is a +4, and for this for these training exercises, we're not going to include anything beyond just his ego bonus, um, which is adept mastery by skill investment standards. But we will not be giving any extra skill points for development because we didn't do so with the other students. So again, Catalyst has a aptitude bonus of 4 and an ego bonus of 4. Um, so that means that we have a 8 on top of our 1d8 plus 3d6, and Stellara gives us a +2 on our cascade range. So we're going to roll these 2 checks for the first day, and that will be the last thing that we do for tonight. I will write up the actual ability and have it present in the document going forward. Um, and um, that will be how we end the night. So e4, e5, e6 plus 8. And let's see what we get on our first go. We got a 30 on our first one. And we've got a 35 on our second. Okay, so even though we hit our target number within the first day, the complexity of this spell requires the full 7 to complete it. So um, this is a bonus slash reaction, and we're going to put one row below, write in bonus action here, and then this is called Star Burst. Um, uh, fire a 135-foot line into a 120-foot line, 10 feet wide. 120-foot line, 10 feet wide. Dealing 3d12 fire damage in a 20-foot radius on hit. Pulling enemies 15 feet toward the center and burning the ground. Yes, burning the ground, burning the area for 2d6 fire per round for 1 minute. Cost is 7 mana points. Okay. Starburst is a bonus action slash reaction. And it is 1 AP. 1 AP. All right. So that will conclude today's lesson, um, and also covers the creation of a new power specifically for the Catalyst test frame. within the spell shaping system that we bring to the table with Core 4. Uh, if you enjoyed tonight's information, please consider hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button, pressing the bell notification so you get notified anytime we do anything here on the channel. As usual, I have been your host, SoulSym Mirak, the creator of the Core 4 system and uh, architect of Aspects and Envoys, Agents and Emissaries, Adamantle Adventures Academy, and a couple of other campaigns that you guys haven't seen or heard from or heard about just yet. But if you continue to stick around and uh, join us week after week, you will see more and more of the amazing things that we have to show you here, and the colorful cast of uh, adventurers and uh, power players that are present within the sympathic wheelhouse. But until then, I'm sorry, we will be back tomorrow, same time, 7 to 9, to discuss. I think we'll start on the species, uh, and we'll go over the ones that I've modified first, the ones from um, existing systems like 5e, and go over how those function a bit differently before we go into the full breakdown of the species that I've introduced to the cosmos and that are native to the Core 4 system. Um, but until then, until next time, stay safe, stay blessed, and have a wonderful evening, everyone. Good night.